Hey, I'm here with Will Jones in the Barrel Room at Interstate Music, and Will's going to be playing the Caribou Room tonight for us, and we're super excited to have you here. Thanks for making the trip.
I'm so excited to be here.
I mean, really?
I am.
You promise?
I promise.
You're not just saying this?
No, I am. I get fired up. I'm ready to pick right now. I've already been in there, got the amps turned on.
I have been a fan of yours, so I kind of met you through Sam Banks, just him playing with you at the local on Monday nights and everything like that, and have just gotten to be a huge fan of your music. Just who you are as a person it's what country music to me is supposed to feel like. Your lyrics are strong. You're an unbelievable guitar player.
Thank you.
Like, how long have you been playing guitar?
A long time. Yeah, I've been playing guitar. I grew up a bluegrass nerd, a bluegrass kid in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and everybody there plays bluegrass music.
So does this make sense? Okay, so I'm not a guitar player, so I'm going to just ask, but bluegrass, does that give you a little bit more of that like single string picking type
I think
style?
so, because everyone does what's called flat picking.
Okay.
Right, in bluegrass music. So you're flat picking acoustic guitars, and you grow up playing these, old Martin guitars with horrible action and medium gauge strings, and then you transfer that into the country realm where you're playing a Telecaster, and you're like, oh man, this is gravy. This is fun.
Well, not everybody switches to a Telecaster when they do
No, that's true.
music,
Yeah,
but you certainly did, and you crushed it.
Oh well, I'm a guitar nerd. At the end of the day, and so I just fell in love with. Obviously I was idolizing people like Tony Rice and all the bluegrass heroes, and when I got 16 or 17, I started just becoming obsessed with, all this chicken picking country stuff, and I was like, I got to figure out what Danny Gatton's doing, or what Pat Flynn's doing, or what Albert Lee's doing, and so it comes from a guitar nerd thing.
So how did you turn from, like, guitar nerd to, like, writing music and wanting to take that next step to being an artist instead of just being a guitar player?
100%. Well, I was always, singing was always my favorite. I mean, I started singing when I was like 5, 5 or 6, and then guitar came with it. And then even still now, when I play guitar, I look at it like singing. You're just singing with a guitar. And so singing to me is still everything. So I always, singing was the most important thing. Growing up, my family played. We were really big into, all the 3-part harmony stuff and everything. And so singing is still what I love the most about what I do. But yeah, man, I mean, I always idolized, Merle Haggard and George Jones and all the great country artists. And it was because of their singing and their songwriting.
Yep.
So when I started trying to write songs and was just absolutely horrible at it, I kept trying to write songs and was writing songs. And eventually I was like, I got to go to where the best songwriters in the world live, and that's Nashville, Tennessee.
And when did you move to Nashville?
So I put it off. I was getting my feet wet in clubs, doing cover sets and playing clubs for quite a few years, just learning as much as I could about that whole thing, and then how to put a country band together and the whole dynamic. And I finally moved in 2019. So I got to Nashville just in time before COVID shut the world down. I had about 6 months there, but it didn't take long. I was getting out around town. I met Sam and those guys. We became buddies and was starting to play rounds and the whole deal. So I was making a lot of friends fast. I didn't really know anybody in Nashville in the country music industry. I had a sister there, but as far as getting to know people in the country industry, I didn't have anybody. So I just got out and started making a lot of noise and making friends. And
when did you make the decision? Did you always know you wanted to be a full band artist versus doing the songwriter, acoustics, shows, and that kind of stuff? Did you always know full band, that type of world was what you wanted?
I think so, because even coming from the bluegrass scene, understanding how to play in a band or playing in a band was always the most fun thing for me.
Yep.
How to not be selfish in a band setting, how to merge yourself in a full band, blend it in dynamically, and make the band thing happen. Yep. And so that was always really important to me. So taking that from a bluegrass acoustic thing to a plugged-in country thing was just that much more exciting to me, and how to put that together around me. And I started that as soon as I got out of college. I was like, I got to figure this out. I put a country band together and started just wading in the waters and figuring how to do that.
And when you're writing music, are you writing it, hearing it on your telly, or are you actually writing it? Do you write music ever with your Telecaster?
I do. Yeah, I think
which is not really all that normal.
No, but I think everything inspires you. It's like I tell people, always buy the guitar. Yep. If you find a guitar that you love, buy it, because it's crazy what a instrument will do as far as inspiration goes, because you want to play it all the time.
Yep.
If it's a telly, you might have a new pedal that's some crazy delay effect, and it might lead you to this riff or this hook line, and you might get a song out of that. So sometimes I do write on a telly. Sometimes I write on an acoustic or a gut string, or it just depends,
So when you're doing your songwriting, are you getting scheduled out by your publisher, or do you kind of have your group of songwriters that you co-write with quite a bit?
A little of both.
Yeah.
At first when I first did my publishing deal with Universal, of course they took full control of my calendar, and I wanted them to, because
makes sense.
that introduced me to so many writers in town that I didn't know that now are really great friends of mine that I write with on a weekly basis. And it kind of helped me find who my group of people were, as far as writers that really understand what target I'm aiming at musically and lyrically, and that kind of leads you into finding this pocket of people who you kind of keep close to you. And I still write with people that I don't know, all the time.
Well, this is a question for you, just because there's a lot of up-and-coming artists that don't have pub deals, that don't necessarily know really how it works. When you're with a large publisher, are they taking your input on, hey, that right wasn't a strong one for me? Are you reporting back to them after a right? Like, how do you kind of hone in so that they get the most out of your songwriting and you're getting the most out of it? Is there a lot of communication back and forth?
There's a lot of communication. I mean, really, most importantly in that first year. Right? Because you're coming out, and it might be situations where you're writing with like just a legacy songwriter, but for whatever reason, y'all just don't click in a writing room, which is nothing personal. It's a very vulnerable thing when you're writing a song. So it has to be a very comfortable dynamic as far as who's in the room to get that, because you're kind of putting yourself out on this limb creatively, which is really hard. And people like Merle Haggard and the greats, they never did that. They never co-wrote. They thought that was a crazy idea. They were like, why would I write a song, something personal with someone else? So it's a crazy thing. So for that first year, you do kind of report back, on who works and who doesn't, and it kind of helps you, puts you on this path to finding those people who you really mesh well with.
What are some of the more difficult types of songs that you want to have in your catalog, but are difficult for you to just write on your own, that you're like, I've got to go grab from somebody else to get this song to the finish line so I feel comfortable cutting it?
I think you always, and I still am and will forever be, evolving as a songwriter. And so you go through this long path around the edge, right? And you start out and you're writing this stuff, and then you go through all this deep stuff, and then you're like lyrically profound, and then you're like, check out what I just did with those words, like that's crazy. And then you make your way all the way back down to this really simple place. And you find that writing a good feeling mid or up-tempo song that has a really strong hook lyrically, that is simple, easy to digest, that feels really good, is the hardest song to write. And sometimes when you get in the room with those guys that really know how to write hit songs, you'll have a lot of those moments where you're like, man, it was just right here the whole time. But just knowing how to get there is very difficult, and it takes time. I mean, everyone says it's a 10,000 hour 10-year. I mean, it takes a long time to learn how to do that and be comfortable doing that. And once you do, then it's just understanding less is more. The art of brevity is really an impressive thing, and how to do that and create that and from a genuine, sincere place. That's songwriting.
And how many songs do you think you have just in your own personal catalog, and how many will you pull from in the next 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I need to know that. I should know that, but I don't even know how many songs, hundreds of songs.
Is hundreds of songs.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you have ones that you're like, this song is, I have to cut this song, but it's just not right yet, the timing, all that.
And you know what happens a lot of times too? You're writing so many songs, or you're on the road, like we've been crazy busy this year, so you'll come back into town, you'll get into town, you'll have a write on Monday, or you'll go into your writes, and you're just really busy. And so a lot of times it'll be, for me, it might even be 2 months later. Like this song that I wrote with whoever pops back into my head, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and listen to that song again. And then I'm like, wow, that's a great song. I think that song has a place in what I'm doing. And sometimes you'll go into a room, you'll leave the write, everyone's super excited, and you're like, that's a great song. And it's for you. I always say, just go in the room, or if you're sitting down to write, just write whatever feels the best. Whatever hook you're excited about, just write that, And it's like, not to keep referencing Merle Haggard, but he's a hero of mine
Right.
and a lot of people. And they always say, if it's Dolly or if it's Haggard or whoever, just write a lot, because when you do that, that's what kind of keeps it in forward motion.
You talked about this last year being really crazy busy.
Yeah.
Like crazy busy in a really cool way.
In a really cool way, yeah. It got wild.
Yeah.
It got wild, yeah.
When did you, who have you opened for in the last 18 months that is kind of fun to mention and tell
Sure.
people?
Well, I'll tell you, it kind of started, I've been busy for, a couple years, and as far as just really dialing in, aiming at what I'm doing artist-wise,
Right.
and finding that, and leaning into it. And then last summer, it started to ramp up, and then last fall, it started getting crazy. We did a show with Lainey. I know
Yep.
we got some Lainey Wilson
Yep.
fans she's is solid gold.
Yeah.
There's no better person than that.
Everybody
than her.
says that.
She's
Everybody says
as
that.
real as they come.
Yep.
And we did the Lainey show, and then Ashley McBride had us out for some shows. Once again, is absolutely unbelievable, genuine, as real as it gets. I'm so thankful for her. She's
Yep.
been really great to me. We did the Ashley McBride stuff, which we're still doing actually even this week.
Yeah, did this Friday show that's in Indiana, did that just all of a sudden pop up?
It did. Yeah, it popped up. And so that's how I was like, I'm going to hang out in Milwaukee, and then we'll just go over there. Y'all drop me off in Crown Point, Indiana.
Yeah, let's go.
So anybody in Crown Point, Indiana, I'm making friends. I got a day to kill. I'll be on the county steps out there just
love
killing
that.
time. So we did that. But then at the first of the year, we got a call to go out and do John Party's tour,
Which
the
is
world
so
tour
cool.
he's doing. So that was my first arena show. So we did a whole Pacific Northwest run for a couple weeks with John Party, and that was a huge learning experience. In the middle of February, dead winter, going through Billings,
Right.
Montana, all the way to Abbotsford, British Columbia. We drove the whole thing.
Oh.
It was a crazy, crazy experience.
So what was that like? I mean, the nerves, it doesn't matter how prepared you think you are and how tight you think the band is and how rehearsed and all of that. When you're in that green room or you're about to go up on that stage, just that whole experience of showing up, doing sound check, what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, you're living a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie. It's, living the dream.
Yep.
My dreams are coming true moment.
Yep.
And it's that real. And it's, I don't really get nervous. I've been on stage so long.
Right.
But I don't care who you are, dude. You walk out on stage in front of 15,000 people, and you're like, oh, this is wild. This is a new thing.
this is awkward.
Y'all are doing this every night. That's crazy. And you're on ears, and it's a whole thing. It's a very disorienting but just crazy cool thing to do.
And that's
so
what
that was-
re-energizes you, right? To be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is what keeps you going.
You get off
It's-
stage after that set, and you're like, okay, like
It's like getting a birdie putt on the 18th
It is.
hole after you've been, double bogeying the whole course. You're like, oh, this golf thing, I
I'm
can do
showing
this.
back
I'm
up.
coming back.
Yeah, I'm
coming
coming
back.
back
to this.
for sure.
So, I mean, you're one of the nicest guys in country music.
Thank you.
That maybe, I don't want to say this in a bad way, there's still a whole bunch of people that don't know
100%.
Will Jones is out
Of course.
there, and that is a crime.
Yeah, well-
and we're going to do everything we can to change that. But you
Thank
are
you.
literally one of the most sincere, authentic, genuine people that are out there doing it. You're playing the local every freaking Monday night.
I'm trying to just stay in there, because even when we're out on the road, like this whole year doing all these shows and staying busy, there's something about, the local's my favorite bar in
Yep.
Nashville. There's something about just having that night where you get together with a bunch of your buddies like Sam Banks
Yep.
and Brandon Talby, Keo Stroud, who's going to be here with us tonight on drums, and several people they're all playing in different bands and they're traveling. So Monday night's like our night to get together, and we just, we drank a little tequila and we play every random country song we can think of. Some B-side Rodney Crowd, Keith Whitley to Haggard, and it's our night to just kind of get the music
and
out of our
that's what I
system.
mean about you as a person that is still wanting to you want to play as much country music in front of people as
Yeah.
humanly possible.
I love to
because
play
you actually
music.
love to do it.
I love to play music.
Right.
If I get like a weekend off,
Yeah.
let alone 2 weekends off, even my wife will tell you, I start losing my mind. I'm like in my studio office.
Yep.
I love to go play music. And so I think when that's in you and that's what you're meant to do, which I believe that's truly like, a God-given thing
Yep.
of what your purpose is, you got to go do it. And I love to do it.
Well, there's one thing that you're doing that I don't think you got to do, but you've been doing it, and I saw it on social. What the hell's up with this cold plunge thing?
Oh, this is crazy.
Why did you decide
For
that
all
you were
the-
jumping in on that?
This
thing?
is crazy. So, just stereotypical Joe Rogan bunch of baloney, that everyone's listening to podcasts. And I saw it enough. I was like, I got to try.
I'm seeing it too.
I got to try.
I'm seeing it too. I'm not doing it.
I did it, and I'm a complete wimp about it. It's so hard.
So do you get what they think is like the benefits of it? Are you feeling it yet, or are you just feeling?
Yeah, I think it
cold?
does. I don't know if it's just like the joke's on me, because if you jump in really cold water first thing in the morning, you're going to feel pretty awake and alive.
For sure.
But I like it. I dig it.
I'm doing the opposite. I get in my hot tub at 6 a.m. and I'm just like sliding in slow to the day, feeling a little limber.
I think it kind of goes to that thing of like when you got 10 million things and you're like, oh my gosh, you just get in there for like as long as you can and distract your mind.
And how long are you doing it? How long are you in there? What's your record?
I'm being real with you. I'm going to shoot you straight. The first time I was like 30 seconds, and it was horrifying. I was like, this sucks.
This is terrible.
But then now I've gotten it up to like a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
What's the most you can even do? I mean,
I think they tell you at certain degrees, like 3 minutes is enough.
Yeah, 3 minutes
is enough.
Anything is enough. Honestly,
yeah, it's enough.
So it's been great to get to know you even better.
Yeah.
I want Will Jones to be known by everybody, but if you're in Nashville on a Monday night, don't go home on Sunday, because too much good is happening on Monday at the local with Will Jones. And like you said, Sam Banks is another fella that's come up here to Interstate Music. Thanks for coming. It's all about
country damn music. It is.
And we're really excited to have you here. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate you, Jeff. Thanks.